Now, how do you know when you're making love instead of just having sex? I'm sure that's the question on your mind, especially when you're just new in a relationship. For those of you who are still funny, Kate, God forgive you. I am not judging, okay? Because, I mean, blood flows through our veins, and sometimes we just can't help but, dig into some of that juiciness. Anyways, it's pretty obvious when you know what signs to look out for. But before we dive into the signs, it's more than physical for him. You need to know that. And still, we need to know the difference between making love and just having sex. So, let's talk about making love. What is making love? What is love making? Now, when you make love, you share just more than a physical or sexual connection. You want to express your deep feelings and commitment for one another. So making love can even be a form of sexual healing, which Marvin Gaye was trying to explain to us all along through his song, but he was killed for singing about it. Anyways, may his soul continue to rest. Now, what does true lovemaking mean to a guy? Because, making love is all about the connection and emotion, and it doesn't have to look one way. Some people prefer to, make love slowly with a special playlist in the background, but rough sex can also be a form of lovemaking, especially if you and your partner transfer lots of energy and emotion during it. And I also need you to know that, sex without love can be empty for some men, just as much as it is empty for some women. So if you believe that sex is always meaningless to men, you might be a bit surprised when you watch this particular video. Now, the truth is that many men crave making love much more than, the meaningless kind. Many men crave deep connection during sex. So for men, sex is a psychological need. If they're not getting it, they start to feel unloved and deeply hurt by that notion. And it's not that men are just after physical pleasure or sex. For men, sex is a gateway to a deeper affection. It's not the finish line. It's where the process of love all starts. So if you are in a committed sexual relationship with him, you will see his love for you grow. It may not start out as the mind-blowing experience I oftentimes, describe, but it will get there. Yes, there are men who are, only in for the physical pleasure and then they move on from one partner to another. But in your experience, you should be able to separate these men from those who are sincere about developing deeper affection, deeper connection with you. And when you give yourself to him sexually, you must trust that this man will understand your commitment and in return reciprocate with the same feeling, if not more. If you're not sure what it means when a guy says he wants to make love to you, just assume that he wants a deeper emotional connection. But don't be afraid to ask what that means to him so that you can be on the same page with him. So here are like 17 signs he is making love to you without him having to tell you. Number one, the first and most obvious sign that it's more than just sex for him is if he tells you he loves you, especially if he uses the words throughout the day and not just in the bedroom. So if you're waiting for him to say those 3 words, you need to be patient. It can take a lot. It takes a lot for some men to open up to someone that way. Some men even take months to be sure about those words before they spit them out. And trust me, I prefer a man who doesn't say those words loosely to me than a man who just, says them just because he wants to have some. Because when he eventually says it, then I know it. I know that it holds more meaning to him than you could ever imagine. And for sure, be rest assured that he means it. So if you're looking for what to say to a man right after making love, I love you might just fit the bill, but make sure that he is on the same page with you before you blot out those words. Or on the flip side of this, just make sure that even when you say this, he's emotionally capable of handling it. Number 2, if he makes eye contact while doing it, that's a sign that he's making love to you, because eye contact is a universal sign of sexual attraction, and it can be incredibly vulnerable. So when a man looks into your eyes while making love to you, it could mean that he wants to open himself up to you. All right? However, eye contact can also make sex more intense. Now, don't get me wrong. It's not that lack of eye contact means he doesn't have feelings for you either, all right? It may be too vulnerable for him at that point. Plus, he may just simply be used to closing his eyes or looking away during sex, or either because it's just his natural reaction to close his eyes, or he thinks that the faces he makes are strange. But nevertheless, if you want to make him feel secure in his expression, then you can just copy his face and make him look into your eyes, and you tell him it's okay, and that you love every beat of his expression, and that you live for this moment, and that you love your man being really expressive. You love the faces and the sounds that he makes, and when he makes it, it just turns you on. Just maybe that would help him ease up, all right? Number 3, when he makes love, he wants to connect with you full body, because quite frankly, sometimes when people are only interested in sex, they hyper focus on genitals because it's just pleasure for them, and it's just orgasm that they desire, not a deeper intimate connection with you. But when it comes to lovemaking, you just want to connect as partners with whom you are sharing feelings with. You want to connect soul to soul deeply with them. So not simply, you're connecting with your partner, not simply someone who can provide sexual gratification for you. So full body connection is one way to show that the entire person matters. So if he can't keep his hands off you, if he can't keep his mouth or other parts of his body off you, it may just be one of the signs that he wants just more than sex. He wants to deeply connect with you. Number 4, if he expresses his emotion, whether he sheds a tear, which is rare, or he uses emotional words, or he just gets a little choked up and lost in the moment for the things that you're doing to him, then having sex with you is likely going to mean much more to him. It's going to mean a lot to him. Not every guy can easily show emotion, so it's not bad if you don't notice these things. But if he does show his feelings, especially if he's not the expressive type, it's definitely a sign that he's making love to you, or he loves making out with you, all right? And you should be grateful for that. Number 5, if you find out that he wants to spend time with you before and after sex, you know this is a classic sign that he enjoys sex with you and nothing else. So if he gets in and out without spending the night or even cuddling with you because he's tired, it just sends the wrong message. That's a sign he's just in for sex. But if you spend time together before you enter the bedroom, or you hang out afterwards, it could mean that he enjoys spending time with you as a person in addition to the sex. All right, and this is especially true if you're not just setting up a booty call, but you guys are just having sex after a full date or a full time outside of the bedroom, okay? Number 6, if he wants to be intimate afterwards, that's a sure good sign that sex with him means a lot more. Because you know what they say about cuddling? Cuddling is, emotionally intimate. So if he sticks around for it, accompanied with some pillow talks, then there you've got a good reason to think that he made love to you, not sex. But this could also be a consequence of all those, feel-good hormones swimming around his body right after sex. So make sure to look for other signs of making love if you want to be sure how he feels, because really, some guys just don't care much for cuddling right after sex. They just want their personal space to sleep off. And you can change that by asserting yourself. When he figures out how much you love cuddling right after sex, he may just come around because it's really important to you. Number 7, if he wants to give you pleasure, then that's a good sign that he's not all about himself alone. Because if he's only interested in sex, he might not give much thoughts to your pleasure or even care if you're comfortable. Because honestly, there are some partners who don't care, or they're less sensitive to you in that moment. Like, they don't care to check if you like what they're doing to you, or if you're in pain or you're uncomfortable. They just carry on because they want to have their own pleasure. Now, that's not the case here. So if he's taking out time to ask how something feels, and if you like it, then that might just mean that he is a good lover, he's attentive. But then again, that can also be the difference between making love and having sex. Because a good lover is an attentive lover. If he's not paying attention to your needs in bed, if he's not looking at you, if he's not taking note of your reactions, then he needs to be tutored by you. Number 8, if he goes down on you and doesn't expect you to reciprocate, then he wants to be your lover, not just your mate. Because honestly, have you ever heard something similar to, the idea that if he goes down on you, he loves you? I honestly think that there's certainly something to that, because men tend to be a bit selfish when feelings aren't involved, but they're much more willing to give to a serious partner. They're much more selfless when it comes to their serious partners. So if they don't have that emotional depth with you, trust me, they will most likely not put their mouths down in your coochie, even with dental dams. Because men are more likely to go down on women that they love and they're intensely connected with. That's the truth. So if he's more willing to go down on you, you can see how his willingness to eat you out is just out there. I tell you, that's an extension of him caring about your pleasure, especially if he doesn't expect you to go down on him in return. It takes him thinking you're special to be able to eat you out, girl. Know this and know peace, okay? Number 9, have you ever been having sex with your partner when he pulls you so close? It's as if he wants your bodies to become one. That's a telltale sign that he's making love to you when he pulls you close, all right? And I'm not going to dwell on that. Number 10, he compliments your personality. While compliments about how sexy you are or how much he wants you are sort of flattering and feels good, they're not necessarily signs that he wants to make love to you. The same is true when you compliment guys. You just compliment them not because you want to have anything to do with them. So this compliment might only be about physical attraction and not anything deeper. And the same goes for compliments about your sexual skills. However, if he freely compliments your personality or other talents, it may just be that, he might be interested in you far more than just the sex that he gets from you, okay? Number 11, if he kisses you with so much passion, that's another sure sign, because I think along with going down on you, kissing is a big deal for a lot of people. Kissing can be a sign of making love because many people reserve it for romantic partners only. Of course, not everyone has the same rules, but if those kisses are long, they're passionate, they're lingering, rather than just quick pecks, it's looking good that he has feelings for you. No cap. And number 12, girl, if he's a fan of slow sex, then that's the one, sis. Not every time rough. Really, if you ask me what making love should feel like, I would say that it's slow, intentional, and sensual. It's a sensual sex that is not in any way hurried. Now, that doesn't mean that quickies don't have a place in your relationship, or when you have strong feelings for someone at the moment and you just want to rip them apart, or maybe other types of sex can't be incredibly intimate. But slow sex is one way out of so many ways to show how much he really loves you and how incredibly sexually inclined he is towards you. And number 13, when he is open and vulnerable, with you during sex, like he's showing his unpleasant faces during orgasm, discussing his sexual fantasies, he's talking about his insecurities, and he's not holding his body, he's not hiding his body. These are all examples of being vulnerable. If he's not afraid to show, his perceived weaknesses, even if you don't see them that way, he's comfortable showing you who he really is, and he trusts that you won't make fun of him, or you will not judge him, or you will not leave him, then he is in for love and not just hollow sex with you. Treasure that, because I don't think he will be vulnerable like that with other strange women. And trust me, it can take time to reach this level of trust with some men, sometimes 7 months or years. So this might be signs of a deeper emotional connection that goes beyond sex. However, some people have an easier time expressing these things than others, and that's even when they're not in relationships with you, so be careful. And then number 14, if he makes certain that you're completely satisfied, then that's a sign that his agenda is to make love to you. Look, I have come to the understanding that few things are worse than a guy who comes and then just rolls over and falls asleep. It's rubbish. Men, if you do that, that's rubbish, except you don't have any deep connection with a girl. Now, I do know that it's very hard to fight against biology, especially for the men, but there are reasons why guys fall asleep right after sex so easily. However, as a man, there are ways that you could go around that. And that's starting with giving her an orgasm or two before intercourse, or even focusing solely on her pleasure. So if you want to know how to tell if he loves you in bed, look for signs that he wants to have you completely satisfied. If that's not there, if he's selfish about it, then you know that he's just in for sex. Number 15, he understands when you don't want sex. Making love is essentially a conversation between two people. It's about connection, it's about pleasure, it's about commitment, and so much more. And that means that you both need to want it, and neither of you should be pushing for sex or sulking when the other person doesn't want it. Do you get what I mean? Those are incredibly selfish behavior, and you shouldn't stand for them, even with a casual partner. Of course, there's no denying the painful fact that sex drives wax and wanes in relationships, because the longer you're together, the more stress you will endure together. And of course, bodies will definitely change too. So if you make efforts to help each other get into the mood for sex, it's different from pushing for sex. Do you get what I mean? Then number 16, when it's not just about sex for him, then that's a sign that you also need to look out for. When he's with you for other things than sex, like caring for your home, caring for the kids, discussing his day with you, or having a date with you, which are all other ways for you to connect, then you know that when he makes love to you, he's not just making meaningless sex with you. He is making love to the love of his life. Because some people might argue that these outside activities outside of the bedroom are even much more important than sex, which of course is true. When sex is just the cherry on the top of everything else that you share, and you know that neither of you would give up that, just be rest assured that you're making love, not just having sex. And number 17, when both of you have that unspoken feeling of deeper connection, because let's be honest, this signs, that he's making love to you is a bit tricky, and there's absolutely nothing to look out for. It's just something that you feel, and it can be quite overwhelming. You might feel yourself choking up or pulling your partner close because you want to become one. You might even cry at, the level of closeness that you guys have gotten into because of the energy that you both are dissipating. But in all, making love is more about your feelings than what you do in bed or how you do it. I hope that this makes sense to you, and if you don't have the signs, please don't judge your relationship off of the signs that I have just given you, because some people are different and they react and respond to things differently, and they show their emotions differently, okay? So these are the signs that I think that could help, but Until I come your way again, do stay thrilled and God bless you.